just doesn't get through. So Paul's point to the Corinthians is, you think wisdom is so great. You think all the Greco-Roman philosophers, you think they're so brilliant. Well, their intelligence and their brilliance and all has nothing to do with it. The wisdom of this world is not going to get you to God. Only the Spirit can open your hearts and minds to receive. And that's a blessing when it comes. And God calls you. When does He call you? Whenever He wants. It's His time when He chooses. Brings up another little story. I once baptized a man, I believe he was 101 years old. He called for a visit, and he said, do you think I'm ready? I said, yes. He said, there's a pond out behind my house. And I said, let's go. And he said, I don't want to wait any longer. I said, I understand. Let's go right now. So I went down and baptized him, and he just said, Pastor, I have one question for you. I said, what is it? He said, why now? 101 years old. Living the whole life. Why now? That's a question I can't answer. I don't know. God only knows when and how. But He knows. But you can't know until the Spirit touches you to know. But so that we may understand, let me go back to verse 12. What we have received is not the pneuma of the cosmos, but the pneuma who is from God, so that we may understand what God has freely given us, that's grace. This is what we speak, not in words taught us by human wisdom, but in words taught by the Spirit. The way to everything and all spiritual understanding and knowledge is through the Spirit. Explaining spiritual realities, pneuma again, with pneuma taught logos. I'm simplifying the word choice there. Change a little bit of the Greek, but pneuma taught logos. The person without the pneuma does not accept the things that come from the pneuma of God, but considers them foolishness. I use my friend Stephen Hawking, not my personal friend, but I've read it, and I like him. I mean, he's a very wonderful, likable person, who was, but he just didn't get this. They consider them foolishness and cannot understand them because they are discerned only through the pneuma, only through the Spirit. The person with the pneuma, the Spirit, makes judgments about all things. They can discern it, they can decide, they can properly understand. But such a person is not subject to merely human judgments. For, he's going to quote again from guess who? Isaiah. For who has known the mind of the Lord so as to instruct him? Who's known the mind of the Lord? Listen to this. But we have the mind of Christ. How do we have the mind of Christ? Through the Spirit. The Spirit of God in us gives us the thinking, the thoughts, the understanding, the attitudes, the way to look at other people, the way to look at the world, the way to look at ourselves, the way Jesus would. We have the mind of Christ. Now, notice who he said? We. Who's the we?
Church.
In particular, the Corinthians. But we, excuse me, have the mind of Christ. So what the heck are you thinking? What is wrong with you people? Why have you gotten off in this direction when you know you have the mind of Christ? You have the Spirit, and these things are spiritually discerned. But you have no judgment. You can't judge me. You don't have any judgment. Judgment is God's. And you have the mind of Christ. Wow, that's a powerful statement. So we'll stop there, and that's one worth pondering. To have the thoughts, the attitudes. Just because we have the attitudes of Jesus doesn't mean we always act on them. But we know better as Christians. Don't you know better? I'm not saying we do better, but I'm saying we know better. And knowing better can help you do better, but is no guarantee as you battle the fallen nature. But we know that God loves us, and we know that why? Because of Jesus and what he did for us, what he is doing for us, what he will do for us. So we know the mind of God. We have the mind of Christ, and we can understand and live accordingly. Okay, any questions, comments, observations, thoughts?
When we talk about the Spirit of God, the Spirit of God, we have the description not case or things letters such as an angel, angel.
That's a good question. Did everybody hear it?
No.
I'll repeat it. She said, when spirit refers to the human spirit, and when spirit refers to God's spirit, can we tell that by whether the word is capitalized or not? And the answer is no. Why? All the Greek manuscripts are either, a few of them are all uppercase. Most of them are all lowercase. And there is no punctuation. So how do you tell? Well, translators, Bible publishers. So translators come in and Bible publishers, and to try to help us figure it out, they basically decide for us. And so if they put a lowercase s for spirit, they're assuming that that's a human spirit. And if they put a capital S, they're assuming that's talking about God's spirit. But there's nothing in the manuscript that would tell. That's why I said in that one place it's very difficult to tell what Paul means. Because he just says pneuma. You go, human pneuma, or is that God's pneuma? He does. I wish he'd tell us, but he doesn't. So the translators opt for human. And I think they're probably right. But you can't be for sure based on punctuation or capitalization, because there is none in the manuscripts.
I've always wondered that because I see the kingdom of heaven a lot. It's not capitalized. And I always thought it should be.
That's an English translation and editor's decision.
Same thing.
But if you ever look at a Greek manuscript of the New Testament, all you'll see is a bunch of letters. You say, well, where does the sentence end? Go figure. Go figure. Well, is this? There are no capitals, not for names, not for places, not for anything, except for those that are written all in capitals. That doesn't help you.
Right.
Any.
There's no end to
Well, that's
those.
a good question. Anything else? Okay.